Hey everyone, Harry here to give you the follow-up aftermath of the Supreme Court decision last week upholding a district court, Judge Amir Ali, who said, hey guys, you can't just withdraw all this money from the USAID, all our foreign aid, and you need to pay it. Now, remember, the judge at the time, he had entered an order on February 13th, and by the 25th, exasperated, he said, you've got 36 hours. The Supreme Court, unsurprisingly, said, in fact, they could have just said, 36 hours, what are you talking about? That's too much for the administration, unreasonable, which is what the administration urged it to do. Instead, they said, we deny relief to you, administration. Back to you, Judge Ali, and make sure they do it in as fast as practicable. Get some information, set a schedule. So, in other words, gingerly set aside the notion of a hammer coming down so quickly. Okay, so it comes back to Ali, who takes it up and acts in a really expedited way. There's a hearing, they gather information. And he issued an order yesterday, and it basically said, we're really, again, just talking about all the contracts for aid that already had been completed by February 13th. So as to those, he's issued an order, and the significance of it is on the legal side, whereas what people had been talking about before this at the preliminary injunction stage is what's the law and are they likely to win? Here it's outright, and I think it's the first that really attacks it in these all these withdrawals of aid in the right analytic framework, which is Congress appropriates money in this country. The executive executes. There's play in the joints. Courts have recognized for the executive to have some discretion in how things are administered, etc. But you can't just say, we're not going to do it. And the opinion is strong and comes out of the box with statements that, go back for years about the role of Congress in appropriating money and foreign aid and the like, and Judge Ali then follows up and says you've just denied it and you can't. So that does cover the waterfront. It makes it a clean legal ruling as opposed to a prospective likely to win ruling that you violated the Constitution by just ignoring Congress's paramount Article 1 command. That's a pretty big deal because it relates to so much of what the Trump administration has been trying. They've essentially just been steamrolling Congress. Congress, of course, has been acquiescent. That doesn't make it okay. Things had been passed. Congress had done it under valid authority. It is not to the executive in a democracy, maybe in an authoritarian, totalitarian state that Trump wants to establish, but it's not for the executive in a democracy to just say, oh, well, we don't care. We are going to do it our way. Still in all, what Ali has said is it's the payments for the contracts that were already completed and executed as of the 13th, and that's what's going to have to be done. At the same time, it's being done under a kind of overall feasibility analysis. We're talking about 2,000 or so contracts, and the aid is going to have to, under the rubric of the State Department, do those as quickly as practicable, feasible, etc. And it's going to, I think, certainly spawn future litigation, as plaintiffs say they're really not, they're dragging their feet, and the government says, oh, it's just so hard, we can't do it, etc. So on the one hand, a clean statement of principle. That's good. You can't do this, executive. You can't just disregard commands from Congress. On the other, probably a no way around kind of play in the joints and could be frustrating. Remember what we're talking about here. Some of these contracts that people have depended on are really life and death matters for the people who are looking for aid on the ground. Terrible stories about necessary treatments for AIDS, for all kinds of things that are just have been interrupted. But there'll be this sort of push and pull, and will the administration respond in good faith to restore things? But unless they are able to reverse this on appeal, that's where we are. It's way, way, way worse than if they hadn't done it in the first place, of course. But now they've gotten their hands, slapped definitively, and they have to restore everything that had been paid for. That still leaves a ton of stuff that they've canceled that hadn't been completed. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has announced that some ungodly percentage, 93%, I think it is, of the foreign aid contracts are going to be canceled. And the judge here, they may try to bring lawsuits, plaintiffs, over some of those. But if we're talking about incomplete or not executed kinds of contracts, as to those, the judge says that's a different thing. That's not what you were complaining about and asking for the immediate injunction for. And I'm not going to give that here. For one, it would entangle me in sort of individual contractual interpretations and be a different sort of mess. But there's, reason that the federal courts should try to stay out of. So, in terms of the real human tragedy on the ground that the administration created with this abrupt, arbitrary, and just cold-hearted withdrawal of aid, a big part of the problem remains going forward. However, the firm legal principle, you don't just take money that Congress has appropriated and contracts that have been paid for and withhold it like a bum debtor. Your job, executive, is to follow through. And a process of where the push and pull, where the district court is, saying, where plaintiffs will come and say they're not doing this and they're giving us bad excuses, and the district court holds hearings and the like, not at all satisfactory, but about the best the legal system can do. You have to hear out the legal arguments. So that will all happen. Okay, so important that we know they've, at least unless the district court is reversed, that they're breaking the law and why they're breaking the law, and a partial and somewhat within practicable as opposed to immediate compliance remediation, at least the stuff that the U.S. was going to have to pay, but not for now. At least, and don't know if this will even happen, a repudiation of the idea that they can hold off on other contracts, and those will have to be sort of litigated piecemeal. In other words, not a complete and satisfying solution to the huge problem the administration created by just withdrawing foreign aid in a wholesale way. That's something that will await future litigation, and that probably will not be able to be fully cured through the legal system. It's just part of what the American people have now inherited with the Trump administration, and all that means, not just for, most importantly for people who desperately need the aid around the world, but also, of course, there's the broader foreign policy point about the U.S. that countries have looked to supply and do decent things, and now that's not who we are in the world anymore, and that I think has ongoing implications. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.